Alright guys, here we go. Welcome to this vlog, a day in the life of an eye surgeon. After a quick breakfast and coffee at home, I get to the station at around 7:45 and jump on the Central line. With the current pandemic, the underground has been super quiet and I use this opportunity to get some revision done. I'm currently preparing for my FRC Opt Part 2 exam, which is the big written exam you have to sit in the UK by the end of 7 years of ophthalmology training. The exam has 180 questions, all single best answer type, and because of that I'm trying a very exam orientated approach to my revision by writing out questions and answers on the different subspecialties that could come up and testing myself. After a 45-minute journey I get to Marylebone Station, and then after a 3-minute walk I get to the Western Eye Hospital for 8:45. I find my clinic room that I've been allocated to for the day, dump my bag and set up the necessities for the day. For ophthalmology, this usually involves a slit lamp that allows us to examine the different layers of the eye, this blue lens which I use to examine the retina, which is the lining at the back of the eye, and also the most essential drops. So this morning I have an outpatient glaucoma clinic. Ophthalmology is actually very outpatient heavy and is actually the busiest outpatient specialty, accounting for 10% of all outpatient appointments in the NHS. So if you're not a fan of ward rounds, then this is defo a specialty to consider. Before I call in the first patient of the day, I have a look at the notes on the system. This particular patient is a 37-year-old lady who's been referred from her local optician with suspected closed drainage angles. So just for a bit of context, the front of the eye works a little bit like a sink system with taps, a sink basin and a drain. So just how you have taps which produce water, the eye has the ciliary body which produces a fluid called aqueous. The basin of the sink is equivalent to the front part of the eye where the aqueous circulates around. And just like the drain in the sink, the eye has its own drain called the trabecular meshwork, from which the aqueous drains out of. If that drain gets blocked for any reason, such as inflammation or after trauma, then just as how blocking the drain in the sink with a plug would lead to the sink overfilling very quickly, a similar thing can happen in the eye. The aqueous would accumulate very quickly in the front part of the eye, but with nowhere to overflow, the consequence would be that the pressure in the eye goes up very quickly, and this can cause permanent damage to the optic nerve. So after taking a history from the patient about her symptoms, I then examined the patient's eyes, so things like checking the pressure in the eye, examining the drainage angle, looking at the images of the optic nerve, and then talked through all of this with the glaucoma consultant in charge of the clinic, Sally Ameen. Whilst Miss Ameen examines the patient herself, she quizzes me on possible treatment options for this case. So this patient has very narrow drainage angles in the eyes, which are at imminent risk of closing completely. Miss Ameen then explains the examination findings to the patient and talks through the different management options, and this patient ends up deciding to go ahead for a laser procedure called a peripheral iridotomy, where we can make a small hole in the coloured part of the eye that acts as a spare drainage pathway for the aqueous to flow through. I then get quizzed a bit more, this time on the latest research for angle closure by Miss Ameen, and sadly I don't do as well this time. We finish the morning glaucoma clinic at 12:30 and then get a 45-minute lunch break, with today's lunch kindly being donated to us by the local M&S who have really been generous to us during the pandemic. At 1:30 we start the afternoon clinic, and this afternoon is an oculoplastics clinic, half of the patients being face-to-face and half of the patients being telephone appointments, just to help maintain social distancing in the waiting area. I get the opportunity to do some Botox injections around the eye for a patient with blepharospasm, which is that annoying twitching of the eyelids that you sometimes get, and then eventually we finish off the day with a few phone calls at around 4:45. And so that brings us to the end of today's vlog. I hope you found that vaguely interesting and insightful. I've never really done one of these videos before, so I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. I'm hoping to get permission to allow me to record me doing my first operation on a patient's eye next week, so look out for that one. Hey guys, so that brings us to the end of today. We've just finished with the last patient and I'm just finishing up my notes. Hope you found this useful, hope you found this kind of entertaining, and I will see you in the next one.